Welcome back to part 4 of our interview with Jessica Martinez, candidate for the Whittier City Council for the March 3rd, 2020 election. Um, so we're sitting here and we're hearing all kinds of noise,
Yes.
not just from in there. There's supposed to be noise in there, of course, but we're also seeing a lot of noise from vehicles going back and forth. Some of the vehicles are modified to make extra loud noises. They're in excess, I think, of the legal levels. As a council member, how would you address the lack of enforcement of the noise ordinances?
Well, I would have to say that's something that the police needs to get active on.
Okay.
But I know that right now it's kind of hard with the number of police that we do actually have on duty, from what I understand.
Okay.
Especially after listening to Mr. Savage discuss it, that we have fewer
No,
officers.
he was talking about hiring 450 officers, and I asked him this morning when I met with him
Yes.
how realistic it was that he'd be able to hire 450 in just the 2 years that he would be serving as mayor if by some chance he was elected. And to be honest, I wasn't satisfied with the answer I got because he said basically, "Oh, believe me, I can do it." But I mean, is it really possible? I mean, you'd have to first find money just to hire an extra couple of officers. We have 90 officers right now, right about.
I'm not sure what the numbers are, but I do know that it's less than what it used to be per Mr. Savage. And then also, I was talking to some of the officers about some of the issues on the street, and part of the thing is that there really aren't enough of them to go around and
That's true.
take care of things, and especially the homeless issue. Most of their calls are revolving around the homeless issue. So how can they get to these other issues?
I work in Santa because they have a contract with Santa Fe Springs, so half those that 96 actually goes to Santa Fe Springs. So we actually only have 40 officers dedicated to Whittier. And I worked at a business over there, and they had a homeless guy tried to break into their facility, into one of their buildings. He was throwing.
The police building?
And actually, it was a fashion wear distribution center.
Okay.
Can't say which company though. But the guy was. They were watching on cameras. The guy was throwing rocks like he's trying to smash the window through the glass doors, like these right here.
Yes.
And they called the police, and the dispatcher kept saying, "All of our officers are tied up. We'll get to you as soon as possible." It took them 5 hours to send an officer out to detain the guy. And when they got there, they ended up releasing him on his own recognizance because they said that they couldn't take him in because they didn't see what was happening. Now, one thing I brought up with Mr. Savage in regards to that is the idea of what you think of the idea of what about a police reserve? Because he said that we have so many people graduating from the police academy here at Rio Hondo. They apply here, they get rejected because we don't have the funds for it. But why not add them to a police reserve where they're working other jobs, but if in cases where the active duty are responding all stuck at an accident or a crime scene and there's other calls, the reserve officers can come on duty and handle those calls.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I really think that that's an excellent proposition, including, one of the things I was thinking about is adding more civilians to, community police. I remember several years ago, I don't know exactly how many years ago, but it seemed more, they used to have the community officers that were civilians that would go out and, find things that were wrong. That would be
kind of like a reserve force.
Yes, exactly. So I think that that's an excellent idea, and it would give some of these.
So
These
now I'm getting an
cadets-
idea of why, according to the polls, you're actually leading the race for district. Even though you're second as far as specific issues, but overall, you and Roble are the top two, and right now you're leading him by at least a point. 20% of, in fact, let me get this. 47% of your supporters are male, and they range between the ages of 45 and 64 on average. Were you aware that 20% of your supporters, which is a huge number, are registered Democrats?
No.
Registered
But
Democrats?
that's great because they feel that that they find comfort in what I'm talking about, and they think I'll do something about it.
And it's interesting because 53% are Republican and 13% are no party preference. Another 13% are independent. I'm looking at Andrew Robles' statistics on the same issue, and he doesn't have anybody except Democrats supporting him. He's unable to break into the Republican group. He cannot get no party preference, and he's unable to get the independents or the libertarians to support him. You seem to have more cross-party support going your way. Also, a lot of your supporters are in the area working the occupations of education and management. About 52% altogether, with incomes of about between $50,000 to $100,000. It's about 47% of your supporters, which is pretty huge. And I'm looking on here. That 60% of your supporters are immigrants to the United States, 33% are Native Americans. I'm also looking on here, of those, you break it down further because I found different ways of breaking it down. 53% are white, 33% are Hispanic, and we have another 7%, which is Filipino. And it turns out the Filipinos are a growing part of the community, and they're the third biggest minority group in Whittier, and right now, they're actually exercising. They're already exercising their political muscle. I want to get your thoughts on those.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that I have kind of like a broad base of support. That it's not just coming from one sector of the community. That makes me feel good about my positions, and that people feel good about what I'm basically talking about. So I'm very happy about that. I would hate to think that I'm only appealing to one section of Whittier. It's great to hear that we have all of these different parts of the community that are supporting me. That's great.
Okay. Going back to something that you brought up at the beginning of the interview, where we have the state of California coming in and imposing regulations on us and kind of messing things up, and that gets into the area of outside influence on our government and even in our elections. You mentioned yourself that the city council elections should be nonpartisan. Back in the 90s when I ran, they were nonpartisan, and the parties didn't get involved. Recently, however, the Democratic Party has endorsed one of your opponents, Maggie Moe. And as you know, Andrew's also a Democrat, but he told me earlier that the Democratic Party didn't even offer him an interview or anything. They just went with Maggie. And to me, that seems kind of, the party shouldn't be getting involved in the city election. What is your thought on that? On the parties getting involved in local elections?
Well, I think for the most part, like you said, this is a nonpartisan election. And I think when you have a nonpartisan election, then the ideas that the candidates are supporting or that they're advocating for, they're listened to more closely than, per se, what is a party platform over here.
Right.
So if a person has solid solutions, solid answers, solid ideas, I think it gives more of a voice to the ideas rather than to the party. So, and unfortunately what I've found often is that if people don't like your party, they'll shut you off. And so I think that's a good thing, I think, to keep it at as far as our local elections to keep it nonpartisan. I think that's a good thing.
Okay. Same vein of outside influences, also in the area of politics from the Democratic Party and also from state parties. How do you feel about state senators and state assembly persons pouring thousands of dollars into the local election to support basic candidates? Like Andrew Roble, for example, got $1,000 from Ian Calderon, and as you know, Ian's mother, Lisa, is running for the state assembly.
Yes.
I asked Andrew about that. He canceled his interview, so I guess for that very reason. But he's claiming he's not supporting anybody for assembly. But to me, that was a legitimate question. Now, in District 3, you have Kathy Warner. She polled at 37% recently, so that's pretty bad. But she's still ahead of her opponents, though. Her closest opponent is Yasmin Farada. She's a graduate of Lucerna High School. And right now she's ahead of all the challengers at 27%. So there's a 10-point difference between her and Kathy. She received $5,000 from Susan Rubio, who's a state senator. And Susan's sister, just like Ian's mom,
Yes.
is running for state assembly. And she gave Yasmin $5,000. In fact, that's the only campaign contribution that shows up on Yasmin's campaign statements on the city website. I haven't had a chance to talk to her, ask her about that, because it's kind of hard. Because no way I communicate with them is by email. Sometimes they respond, sometimes they don't respond. But it's the same question as with Andrew. Who is Yasmin going to be supporting for the 57th Assembly District? Because if she's supporting Sylvia, which I found out, she said that she's claiming that she's been in Whittier for 20 years, but people that know her say that she just moved here in December. What's your response to that?
Well, I don't know her, so I really can't comment on. But
I mean, the whole idea of people
the candidates from
making it look like they're getting
Yes.
paid to endorse certain people.
Yes,
I mean,
yeah.
how do you feel about that?
I don't particularly care for that. I think that what we should be doing is focusing on our, the contributions that we're getting should be from here at the local level.
Okay.
I don't, where are they getting, so much money to run, here in our local